All right, shalom, Hebrews. This is Israel, being Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. All right, Hebrews, I'm making this video is because, we know on the family history channel, the Israelite Brotherhood family channel, they've been trying to give me a little troubles about uploading videos. All right, on this channel, they've been taking videos down. You know what I'm saying? On the Israelite Brotherhood main channel, they've been taking videos down, and they done took that video down, the world's greatest hidden secret, and they done took that video down, and that video been up for a while, and then they try to say that I done mindless and some other stuff in the video, but I ain't cussing, I ain't threatening nobody, I ain't saying hurt nobody, I don't do any of that in any of the videos. I'm just showing plain facts coming off the Tanakh and world history. But that video, I knew that video was going to be a problem because I went up, man, against this rabbi, this self-hearted rabbi named Henry Aberson. He probably done wrote YouTube and then asked them to take it down. You know how the Jewish community got some serious power, and it ain't nothing for them to write them. And they probably been complaining about that video because that video showed in detail how he making a grave error, making a big mistake explaining Israelite history. He's supposed to be a professor, a rabbi, a historian, and some more stuff. And I'm showing how he purposely misleading folks and not telling the truth, about Israelite history, because it's impossible for him to be and study the Tanakh all his life and not know that the Israelites ran into Africa during the Babylonian wars, but yet this rabbi won't even mention it when he explaining Israelite history and associated with Africa, and how he used this self-hardy dispersion and so forth. But how that's being dishonest, because if you're going to explain Israelite history in association with Africa, then you need to explain it starting from the Tanakh, showing how the Israelites ran into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. So, YouTube been taking down videos, and we got to expect this in the Israelite community. The only thing I regret is that it's not enough Israelites watching the video. That's the only thing. If you compare the videos, that I show, to the other Israelite organizations, they in left field, They're, all the real Israelites that do real study know that the Israelite Brotherhood got the best Israelite history in the whole Israelite community, and Almighty Yah made it that way. And why he made it that way dealing with me, I can't explain, because it's been treacherous, in my life. But anyway, that Henry Aberson dude, he probably done wrote YouTube and then had them take the video down, because I'm showing how he misleading folks with Israelite history. Now, if you call that malice or bad, you know what I'm saying, they don't want you to speak, about them folks when they showing erroneous history that is incorrect and stuff. They just want to put Israelite history out and then expect the world to accept it. But I'm here to show you that when they showing error in association with Israelite history, we got to step up and say, hey, this ain't right, and this the way it is. And it's plain and simple to see that the Israelites ran into Africa during the Babylonian wars. Yet they won't talk about it in Western culture, period. If you was to go type Israelites ran into Africa during the Babylonian wars, you ain't gonna get nothing. You're gonna get all kind of stuff but that. All kind of subject but that. Alright, Hebrews, we gonna get it together. We gonna get it together. This is Israel being Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, that kind of. It is Israel being Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. And I'm gonna get into this little video. I wanna show how the some dude is being real deceptive, and how he was been misleading folks, man, about Israelite history. So, they gonna get mad and stuff. And then he's supposed to be a professor. He's supposed to be a professor, so he's supposed to be able to tell the truth. And then what he say, man, about Israelite history, man, is supposed to be accepted and so forth. But this gentleman right here, now, I ain't cussed him out, ain't cussed, ain't threatened, man, I don't never threaten men except hardest and Ashkenazi, because we broke the covenant. We Israelites broke the covenant, and we can't blame them. But these folks been in our heritage a long time. I mean, he ain't just been truthful, like he ain't been truthful, man, about the Israelite history in association with Africa and so forth, and how he just basically, man, explained the Sebhardis running across North Africa, men in 70 AD, going into Spain and so forth. And I got videos covering that. Well, kind of like now I don't, because they've been taking them down and stuff. And then, if they taking the videos down, and that is hurting somebody. It's hurting somebody. Now, why the truth? Now, why the truth gonna hurt these folks? They supposed to stand for the truth, especially when dealing with biblical history and so forth. They supposed to stand for the truth. But, them folks don't want the truth out, because, man, it's threatening their whole everything in association with the Israelite history. And we ain't trying to hurt nobody and so forth. We ain't trying to hurt Ashkenazi, and we ain't really trying to hurt the Sephardi's, even though we're going to deal with them differently than we deal with Ashkenazi, for the simple reason that I explained in the videos who the Sephardi's are and where they come from, and their association with our Israelite history. That's explained real easily. You know what I'm saying? So, that's covered. And, but Ashkenazi, man, that's a whole nother dealings and so forth. And it's like I've been trying to tell the Israelites, man, that we're going to have to deal with one of these groups. And me, I would preferably deal with Ashkenazi, for the simple reason is, I explained in the videos how Almighty Yah told them to be there by chasing us out. And then, they ain't just being truthful on the Israelite heritage, but if you notice in history that they ain't just condemning us and getting on that bandwagon of denying our Israelite heritage, and how that's mostly been coming from the Sephardi groups and the Edomites and over in that branch of the Jewish groups and so forth, and then how mostly the people that condemn us and say that we ain't Israelites gonna be of the Sephardi strain and so forth. And it's a reason why they want to keep us out of our heritage, is because that they got in our heritage long time ago. And during Joshua, when we come out of Egypt, I explained how we was only free, men of them, after Exodus, man, for maybe about 50 years after Exodus, man, before they got in our heritage, man, in the book of Joshua. And then how that they tricked us and being in our heritage, claiming the Israelite heritage for a long time. So, it's a big old, we ain't gonna just fall into the Sephardi's hands and just be real lightly with them. You see what I'm saying? Because it's documented in history. We got a professor that put some work in, man, before he passed away, and his name Tony Martin, and he specifically showed how the Sephardi groups had their hands in the slave trade. And it makes sense because they got different degrees of pigmentation and so forth. So it wouldn't have been nothing for them to go into Africa, as they was already in North Africa after Hurd's Edomite temple was destroyed, and they went across North Africa and all parts of it and settled in Spain, men in Portugal and so forth, and then they would go back off into Africa and so forth. And then I explained how the Edomite tribes, now this is what Abramson don't want, as well as the Sephardic community, because this is exposing them. Like I say, Ashkenaz, he kind of like laying down with it, that he ain't gonna too much fight this, because he already know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? Now he got into the heritage, but these other folks are a little more slicker and sly, and they gonna try to fight to stay in our heritage and to deceive, but truth gonna straighten it all up. You see what I'm saying? Now, they got tribes, Edomite tribes, man, that went into Saudi Arabia, and you know the prophet Obadiah already said that they would get our heritage and so forth. Where them folks got our heritage, and you know I could show conversions as I did, and then those Edomite tribes set up all throughout Saudi Arabia, which Saudi Arabia and so forth, and set up everywhere, and then they would go over into Ethiopia, them Edomite tribes, and then they would go over into Nigeria, and then they would go down, man, into Zimbabwe and so forth. The Limbas and all them, you know what I'm saying? All them gonna come off Edomite tribes, men that come from Yemen and so forth, from Sana, you know what I'm saying? And they'll even tell you in their history that they come that way. But Abraham don't want you to know that. They see that's the biggest plot, is that if they can get us to believe that the black Jews are legitimate, then they keep the Sephardics in the ball game. You see what I'm saying? They keep the Sephardics in the ball game. So they gonna be trying to stop all kind of information, you know, revealing this truth and so forth. And you know, it's up to you Israelites, man, to get this truth out to other Israelites, because our truth is only good, man, when we embrace it and spread it and so forth. And then you know how people be on one bandwagon, man. It's like, you know, I've been dealing with some Israelites, man, on Facebook, and I've been trying to explain to them that if they green light the Israelite Brotherhood for the promised land, like I'm pushing for, that man, we gonna possibly work. It ain't no possible, because it's gonna be what the Israelite Brotherhood say, and then you know, we're gonna work with Ashkenazi, and Ashkenazi, you know, man, they work with us, and we're gonna throw the past behind us, and we're gonna move forward. But the Sephardic groups, man, they gonna be a little more complicated, because they got a lot more invested, even though they got different degrees of pigmentation dealing with them, man. They some Babylonian scribes, man, and they just a little more trickier and stuff, and they Amorites, and we ain't gonna just be able to just deal with them and so forth. You see, the Israelite Brotherhood ain't gonna deal with them, and then it's like I'm explaining to some Israelites on Facebook, you know, which gonna be a place where I'm gonna pick a whole lot of the Israelites from when they green light the Israelite Brotherhood, man, to go back to the promised land, and how I'm gonna, you know, pick some Israelites, man, from Facebook, but I'm not picking all kind of Israelites. You know, you're gonna have to believe in the Tanakh, and then most definitely you're gonna have to understand that I'm the lead man without no question. You know, and then how you gonna have to follow this Israelite history that I lay down for the Israelite Brotherhood. You know, even there ain't gonna be no question about that. That's just the way it's gonna be. And then that how if you ain't in agreement with the Israelite Brotherhood history and doctrine, in the way that the Israelite Brotherhood gonna set the program up in the promised land, that you need not associate with the Israelite Brotherhood and get to stepping. But because I'm telling you now, when we go home, it ain't gonna be no splinter groups. Ain't no groups gonna break off from the Israelite Brotherhood. Man, we're gonna look at that as they starting fires. You know, we're gonna put the fire out, and then how, man, every member gonna have to be in accordance with the Israelite Brotherhood guidelines. Man, it's just how it's gonna have to be. And then how it ain't nobody gonna go to the promised land doing what they want to do, and you know, and having their own free will in hand. That how it ain't gonna get down like that, because we got a whole lot at stake, and we're gonna have to be one unit and one people, and how we're not gonna have all these different doctrines and philosophies going back into the promised land. You know, if you get on with the Israelite Brotherhood and them people green like the Israelite Brotherhood, that how your doctrine and how you believe ain't gonna matter, because you ain't going back based on what you done taught the Jewish community about us, and that how we going back based upon what the Israelite Brotherhood then showed the Jewish community how we Israelites. And I'm real hard and serious, man, about Israelites trying to break off and start splinter groups and stuff. You know, I'm real hard on that. And how that ain't finna happen to the Israelite Brotherhood. That how we're gonna have one voice, one love, one history, one Yah worship. All right, Hebrews, this Abramson dude, you know, he done took and then possibly done wrote the YouTube. You know how they got the power. You know, I'm a nobody. Man, it ain't nothing. You know, being a rabbi, him being a rabbi, or professor and all that old stuff. That how he can write YouTube, because they got access to him. You know, he can write YouTube and say, hey, take this video down on him, and they didn't give me a strike. I ain't cussing, ain't threatening, ain't doing nothing but showing how he missed the Hebrews running into Africa during the Babylonian wars, and how he never mentioned it. And now he's supposed to be a professor and so forth, and a historian, but how he never mentioned the Israelites running into Africa during the Babylonian wars, and how that they disappeared off history and was promised the Creator's wrath. You see, all this lead to us Israelites in captivity now, and he know this. In that video that I showed this easily, as well as the other videos. You know, I show easily how we ran into Africa during the Babylonian wars. All you got to do is go to the book of Jeremiah. You know, that's what the book of Jeremiah is about. You know, we said we wasn't going to do the covenant no more, and we ran into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. And we've been paying the price for it, and he want us to continue to pay the price by denying the world the chance to understand correct Israelite history. You know, long as we believing in them myths and all that old false history that they created about the Israelites, then them folks be cool and so forth. You know, they didn't invest. They got a lot of time invested in false history and so forth. They got a lot of time invested in false history, so they gonna be trying to protect their investments and so forth. But we Israelites, man, we're gonna have to, you know, show the truth, and then that's what I say that they got an advantage, is because our ancestors was enslaved, history was stripped from them, and then the Israelites trying to put it together and has a million doctrines in the Israelite community. I'm talking about it's a million doctrines. Everybody got a different doctrine and different history, man, on our history, and all of it come off myths that these folks created. So that's the advantage that they got right now, but we slowly chipping away at it. We slowly chipping away. That's like I say, when we step foot in the promised land, Israelites gonna have one history, one doctrine, one worship, because you ain't going back with the Israelite Brotherhood if you believe in the 10 lost tribes, if you believe we ran into Africa in 70 AD, or if you believe that we was around in the promised land during Roman times, that you ain't going back to the promised land. And then if you believe in demigod worship, believe that the creator sacrificed to God's son, man, to save us wicked Israelites that broke the covenant, that if you believe in that, you ain't getting in the Israelite Brotherhood and you ain't going back to the promised land. And I can't wait till the time come where you Hebrews be hooping and hollering and crying and gnashing your teeth because you ain't going back to the promised land believing in no demigod worship, not with the Israelite Brotherhood, not with the Israelite Brotherhood. And I'm kind of almost certain that them folks gonna break the Israelite Brotherhood off because they know I'm trying to do the right thing for us all. You know, that's like some of my friends, you know, on YouTube, man, are Illuminati members. I'm talking about the real ones, high-ranking ones, and then they go is to they go, but man, that's like every organization. You know, we Israelites got to get out of the habit of judging the organization. You know, by you got to judge an organization by its leaders and then by its directors and so forth that set the goals of the organization. And that's like some organizations have leaders, man, and their goals change and the organization change, and they whole, a goal change because man, it's about the leader and so forth. And it's like, with the men and Illuminatis, man, they get a good leader in, man, that could be down for the people and so forth and want to assist us, man, and help us because they goals supposed to be that they want to help bring humanity together, knock borders down, and make us all one, and man, to where we all can get along and to get rid of the religions. Man, I'm for all that. Man, I'm for all that. And we gonna do it up under Yah worship. That's the light. Almighty Yah is the light. And if them folks, man, come on and get something going, man, we're gonna go on and, get this bring this Israelite issue to an end. Man, is my whole purpose and goal is to bring the Israelite. That's what the Israelite Brotherhood is trying to bring the Israelite issue to an end, where it don't matter if you're an Israelite anywhere in the world. It ain't gonna matter when we touch down. When the Israelite Brotherhood touch down in the Promised Land, it ain't gonna matter if you're an Israelite anywhere in the world. It ain't gonna matter because we're gonna be home and we're gonna be fulfilled the prophecies about our return. But what the Israelite Brotherhood gonna do for the Israelites that believe in Yah is that we're gonna make it possible, man, for you to come home too. But you got to come home under one history, one doctrine. The Israelite Brotherhood members gonna lead the way first. That's the way that I want it to be, and I pray to Almighty Yah that it come to pass. But let me show how, this Abramson, instead of just me talking about it, I could show how, during the Babylonian wars, if you go to the book of Jeremiah, during the Babylonian wars, this is around about 588 BC, how the Israelite nation say that they didn't want to do the covenant no more. And then that's what the Tanakh is about. In the book of Jeremiah, that's what it all lead to us breaking covenant. And we went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion, and we even disrespected the Creator on our way into Africa by telling the prophet Jeremiah to go ask Almighty Yah what he want us to do when we was getting chased off the land. And then, he told us to go back to the land, and we said no, and went into Africa. And then that was the last you heard of us, man, to now. After we then, been through all we done been through. We trying to get it together. We tired of being held in captivity and being abused and so forth under these Negro, Black, African American titles. We bringing this stuff to an end. And then that's what this Abramson folks don't want us to know when they took that video down, the world's greatest hidden secret, and he know that he been telling a lie and that they been hiding the truth on the Israelite history and so forth, and that they go way about their way not to explain Tanakh history showing that the Israelites ran into Africa. Now that's messed up, that he's supposed to be a rabbi and a scholar and a professor about Israelite history, but yet he can't show that the Israelites ran into Africa during the Babylonian wars. Now that's a long time to be in Africa, knowing that they didn't come back out when these Hebrews come home. When these Hebrews come home from the Babylonian captivity, the 99% never came out of Africa to be reunited with them. And they know that that's us. They know that that's us. So that's why come he ain't going to explain the Israelites ran into Africa during the Babylonian wars, and then how he get this dude right there, them dudes, this real Israelites, and then converted him, man, to Judaism, and this brother be jumping around and hollering and singing and stuff, and then how Abramson say, this the new face for Judaism and so forth. You know, it's messed up. You know, I'm trying to tell you that he gonna be the one that gonna be done wrote YouTube, or one of those self-hardest wrote YouTube and then told them to take that video down, because that video showing how this guy ain't being truthful and so forth, and how he being dishonest about the Israelite history. And I'm telling you straight up, he being dishonest because he know that the Israelites broke the covenant during the Babylonian wars and ran into Africa. He know this. He been knowing this. He been studying Tanakh for a long time. But yet how he skip around that history and talk about all other kind of stuff. Man, it's like I was watching this video right here. Man, I'm going to show you Israelites. I don't think I could just bring it to the right part, but how they was doing this little video, man, about the Scythians and so forth. And then they showing how the Scythians whooped everybody, whooped the Assyrians and so forth. And then how did the Scythians come down to Egypt. Now they explain this, and then they skipped it and jumped way down to Greek times, Persian times, but they never said that when the Scythians come into the promised land during the Babylonian wars, that what happened to the Israelites and where was they at? Because they sure didn't welcome the Scythians into the homeland. We wouldn't have welcomed these folks into our land when Almighty Yah told them to chase us off the land. You see what I'm saying? And then just this video, man, I was watching. I'm gonna see if I can, man, I wanna see if I can get it to say a little something. But you know how YouTube,
power.
man,
This
how
is evident
YouTube
by some of the
be
only
tripping and
permanent
so forth,
structures the Scythians left behind.
and then how that they don't want the truth to get out. You know, they hate when we show the truth about our heritage in association with the Israelite heritage. Man, how they hate that. You know, they don't want that. And then the reason they don't want that is because, you know, the Jewish community, man, the artists got thousands of years invested in trying to convince the world that they Israelites. So, you know, they're going to try to take down any history and every history that opposes that. And then that's the history that I've been showing, that they are not the true Israelites. So, you know, they're going to take the hidden history, number one, down. You know, and then that's what I showed, that how them folks, you know, been dishonest with Israelite history. And that ain't threatening. That ain't threatening nobody. That ain't threatening nobody. Ain't threatening nobody. And ain't cussing. Ain't cussing. Ain't doing none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Ain't cussing. Ain't threatening. Ain't saying hurt nobody. You know what I'm saying? A lot of Israelites won't, you know, they read the scriptures and say, hey, man, did Almighty Yah gonna make them folks in there slaves and so forth? And then I ain't never been on that bandwagon. I ain't never been on the slave bandwagon, because I know that, you know, that ain't That ain't what Almighty Yah, focus on. That Almighty Yah really want us to worship Him. But look, I was watching this video. Let's see if I can get them to pull it. Man, this thing right here. Man, it's showing the Scythians. Who is Ashkenazi.
The ancient kingdoms of Urartu and Assyria.
Look.
Following up on this momentum, King Magi pushed further south, launching an expedition into Egypt. Cowed by the massive horde at his doorstep, Pharaoh Psamtik I bequeathed.
And then listen, they so ruthless. That's like Abraham do the same thing. Man, they so ruthless that when they explain that history, how he jumped past and never said what happened to the Scythians, where they settled, that they settled in the promised land. You know what I'm saying? What happened to them? And I showed you that they settled in the promised land, in Scythopolis after the Babylonian wars. But how did these groups that be explained in history, the Jewish history, how they jump around that, and they don't want to talk, man, about the Israelites going into Africa, and then when the Scythians come into the promised land and going into Egypt, then what happened to the Israelites? What happened to the Israelites? Impossible for them, man, to have come through the promised land, and then we ain't say something, have something to, do about this, and then that's what the Babylonian wars was about.
Tried to subjugate the horse lords in
that's what the Babylonian
BC.
wars was about.
This time, focusing on.
Let me see if I could pull this up again. How them folks come down to the promised land.
Many Scythians served as mercenaries and vassals to the Persians, but many more.
I just had it. Here it is. Now, if the Scythians, who was Ashkenazi, this is a pretty good piece of information about this video about Ashkenazi, the Scythians. The Scythian Ashkenazi men is the same. And then how did they try to explain their history away? And then how they, try to explain how that they took Syria over and burnt them out. But then they don't explain that after they destroyed Assyria, where did they go to after that? Where them folks come to the promised land. And then Almighty Yah used them to chase us into Africa. And then that's what the book of Jeremiah is about. That's what the book of Jeremiah is about.
Would fight with, conquer.
They whooped the Assyrians under the name Chaldean, and then they came down and drove us into drove us into Africa. That's what Ashkenazi did under the name Scythian and so forth. They would, whoop the Assyrians, tore the Assyrian empire up. The prophet Nahum told them that would happen, and then they go straight, man, to Egypt. But that they look, that's Egypt right there. But that they had to come across the promised land. And they ain't talking about what happened to the Hebrews during this time. You see what I'm saying? They ain't talking about what happened to the Israelites during this time, and then how they just jumped down to Greek time with the Scythians. They ain't say nothing about how the Scythians settled in the promised land, and they called it Scythopolis. They called it Scythopolis, and then how did they stay there? And then, they stayed in Scythopolis. The Scythians lived in Scythopolis, and then that's Ashkenazi. And he been in our heritage for a long time. And him and the Sephardic groups been fighting over our heritage by proxy. And I believe that they'll aid each other when it comes to concealing the Israelite heritage. But I believe the Ashkenazi are a little more open and so forth. I've been studying them a long time, and then they ain't just outright pushing the lie narrative, man, about us not being Israelites. And that's mostly coming from the Sephardic branches and so forth. You know, they tended with Edom, so they gonna be like that. But them folks, you know, show videos and all kind of stuff, man, about how Jews and everything and all them folks went into Africa, but they don't never mention the Babylonian wars, how Israelites went into Africa during the Babylonian wars. It's one of the world's greatest kept secret, and then how they explain history all around that. You know, that's being deceitful, and then they taking the videos down. You know what I'm saying about that? Me showing that he being dishonest about Israelite history. You know, they taking the videos down. You know, and that's kind of messed up because, you know, them folks supposed to stand for truth on the Israelite history. But then we got to understand that if they whole existence, man, is threatened, then that they gonna do that type of stuff. They gonna tell lies, and they gonna tell, you know, untruths and so forth, and they gonna try to hold the truth off because they got a lot invested in that lie, and that's why they taking the videos down. But the book of Jeremiah showed you how we ran into Africa, and it was Ashkenazi, the Scythians, that chased us there, and then he settled in the promised land, and that's simple history. I'm talking about you can't get no simple than that, and it's gonna be on all the Israelites, man, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna come out of all their mouth before long, because that's what happened. We got to have one history. We got to have one history, and it have to be correct. And you ain't gonna get no more better correct history than what the Israelite Brotherhood show. All right, Israelites, you know, I was just, you know, want to show y'all how them folks take videos down and so forth. So you Israelites better go and get this history, because, you know, is how you gonna get in the promised land. You know, you can't go back to the promised land with all these doctrines and so forth, and how we got to go back home based on truth. Shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. They taking down videos, so you Israelites better, you know, get it in the best way you can before they all gone and so forth. Shalom. I pray that everybody is doing well, and much love to the Israelite Brotherhood family.